So did you guys check out the Aaron Hernandez documentary on Netflix?
Yeah, I actually saw it today, and I'm actually
amazing.
glad. I'm actually glad I saw it because, we were talking before we started recording about fathers and relationships and shit, and shit like that. And I got a lot of that out of this documentary. But fuck, I lost my train of thought. I'm really glad I watched it because it answered a lot of questions that I had and provided a lot of proof that kind of solidified the case for me. I knew Aaron Hernandez was guilty. I just didn't know he was this guilty.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying? And being a New England Patriot fan, it feels like I had a lot of questions answered by the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give them props. If you're asking me, I mean, I can get into how I really feel about the situation, about what I think his actions and the father figure, the family dynamic in there, the no ratting out, the friendship, that kind of stuff. Because I think that plays a really big part. Yeah, he's guilty, but there are a lot of other circumstances. Did you guys see it? See Money?
Yeah.
I did not see it, and I'm curious what my co-hosts think here, because
let me,
from the little bit I do know about him, like, it's kind of what JB was saying, though. From what I do understand was the dude, he's just one of these people where it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe he could do something. And people were kind of just like, yeah. Like, makes sense.
Well, it was a big deal. It made headlines. It was a very big deal. It was probably the biggest thing.
Worldwide news when it happened.
Yeah, it was like OJ level, except just not all. I mean, it was bizarre. There was a lot of things going on. Nobody could believe. The most shocking, the thing that I got from it, besides the fact that it was extremely sad, this was the saddest thing. And I remember thinking about it way back then. Not that I got a bleeding heart for anybody that commits murder, but the guy definitely had some mental issues. You know what I mean? And so I'm not saying he didn't have self-control. What I'm saying is the situation was sad for everyone involved. For everybody involved, it was a really sad, messed up situation. What got me was, and before I get into like the background stuff, because I know you did want to talk about the background life and the similarities between him and other people who have committed egregious crimes or serial killers or whatever the hell. He was accused of killing 3 people in total, but he was only convicted of murdering the one guy, Odin Lloyd.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people didn't know that, including myself. I didn't know that he had a past which other people died.
Yeah.
You didn't know that. All you heard was Odin Boyd. I already fucked that name
Odin
up.
Lloyd,
Odin Boyd, I believe. Odin Lloyd. That's all you hear. But there was a lot of previous stuff that, wow, I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he was involved in that. So
it was the shock of it all.
There was a past.
Nobody believed why a hugely popular multi-millionaire guy in his prime, living the dream of damn near every young man, would do something, would jeopardize his career committing murder like that, and I mean, like you said, JB, the facts that were revealed, it was so obvious. It's like he barely tried to cover up his tracks, or he was just not smart enough, not cognizant enough to understand, like, nigga, bro, you can't leave a blunt by the crime scene. You can't leave DNA all over. You can't hide a vehicle at your cousin's house that was involved in a murder. Because let's keep it 100. He killed those other 2 people, bro.
Oh, no doubt about it. If you don't know what we're talking about, he went to trial for a double murder that happened in Miami in 2012 and got off because he had a badass lawyer. The same lawyer, by the way, that
got Casey Anthony off.
Casey Anthony out, which
Jose
I remember
Baez.
that happened. That pissed me off too.
He's the Latino Johnny Cochran.
Yeah, but he got him off, on technicality or whatever the hell it was. But this is what I got. Essentially, this is what I got. Aaron Hernandez is a murderer. Point blank, zero. There's no doubt about it. The facts show Aaron Hernandez killed Odin Lloyd and killed 2 other people. Okay, just because it didn't happen in the court of law, don't really mean that. He was a murderer. Now, See, Money, you and I were talking about this earlier about how most serial killers have some sort of abuse in their life, whether it's sexual, physical, mental. There's something almost always there. If you watch the documentary with Aaron Hernandez, you see that his growing up had a lot of, I don't want to say abuses, but a lot of trauma. And you gotta pay attention to that, because it's not black and white. Yeah, he's a murderer. And you said, I'm not crying. I don't feel bad for Aaron Hernandez. I feel bad for the entirety of his friends and family, because they were involved in all of it. They were surprised this happened. It's like he played everybody in a sense.
Well, you said it. He had feelings of being gay, right? He felt like he was attracted to boys, and he was gay or bisexual at an early age, and he was ashamed of that because of his father, old school military guy, who was also abusive.
Latino too.
Yep, who was also abusive. And coming from a Puerto Rican culture, there was some homophobia, or at least the talk, the words. It was definitely well known that it was not okay to be gay in the culture, or at least the areas that I grew up in. You know what I mean? And he grew up in a very similar lifestyle, except he had a lot more abuse, a lot more trauma. His father, I believe, passed at an early age, and that's when everything took a turn for like the worse. He started using drugs and getting into gangs and stuff like that. And once that dad ain't there to check you, you get raised by the streets in many cases.
A part that resonated with me with this is that he did very well under structure. Like when he went to Florida, Urban Meyer could only talk like blessings about Aaron Hernandez. When he went to the Patriots, Kraft, Tom Brady, everybody only talked the praise about. In high school, the same thing. And even in prison, apparently he did well under structure. Like, so you saw that under structure with a parent, that father figure involvement. He did very well. I can relate. Not growing up without a father. Aaron Hernandez lost his father. Okay, but when I got into the military, I did very well because it was structure. I didn't have to stress about nothing. I went in, busted my ass, and got success out of it. That's what Aaron Hernandez was. But he was, they said, bipolar. He was dealing with this gay thing happening, maybe being a closet homosexual, the abuse.
Just like you said earlier, there's definitely correlations between people who have committed violence, whether it be serial killers or just one-time killers. It seems like this guy, Aaron Hernandez, had a propensity for violence. His other friend, Jamal, I can't remember the guy's name, but he said he accused him of shooting him in the face. So he was lucky enough to survive that. But so that's 4 different people that he shot that people know of. You know what I mean? So another thing that a lot of these killers or people with issues have in common is brain injuries, whether it be due from abuse or an accident or CTE. They find in even serial killers from the 70s and 80s all the way up to today, and people like Junior Seau, who just decided to kill himself, they all had CTE, so that or some kind of brain injury. So that all played a part as well,
That's a great point, because they addressed that in the documentary, and it turns out that Aaron Hernandez, of all the brains that they've ever studied, for his age, had the most advanced CTE they've ever studied. That has to count for something.
It definitely
it has to, right? Because it is now known that CTE, there's symptoms, bipolarism, rage, this,
Dementia,
that, and the third. I'm not doing it
anger,
justice, but
sporadic behavior.
Bingo. That's exactly what they say, and that's what Aaron Hernandez was known for. This on and off attitude behavior. 1 second he's the hardest working, lovable teddy bear in the world. The next second he shoots a guy in the freaking face.
Yeah.
It seems like, just listening to you guys, I'm actually kind of happy I didn't see it, because it's an unbiased opinion that I have. So it sounds like, I've watched enough podcasts now with neuroscientists and all that stuff, that it does. And, brain injuries can, and sometimes always will, result in sporadic, sometimes violent behavior. And it's, you have this guy who is a monster of a human being, His job is to level out and destroy other human beings. He comes from a place where being gay is unacceptable, and he could very well possibly be gay. We all know now in 2020 how tormenting that is to some people who can't come out or want to or whatever. I mean, dude, yeah, I see now where you're like, you kind of feel bad for him because it's like he was fighting a losing battle, it sounds like he was...
It was definitely a perfect storm of circumstances. Yeah, you can't feel bad. I don't feel bad for Aaron Hernandez. He was still capable of mind to make choices, and he made the wrong choices, and he paid the price ultimately with his life. But the circumstances show over and over and over again that the nurture part of it in these kinds of people are always jacked up. Their brains are always jacked up, whether it's CTE or some other trauma. There's something physical there that we should pay attention to. And that's what I really got.
I'm glad you mentioned the nurture thing about it, because here's the issue with these guys and football and other sports. They're always being handled, okay? From middle school to high school to college, all the way up to the NFL, the same thing all their coaches say is what? Keep him on the field. As long as he's on the field, he's doing well. He performs well under structure. And that's what they do. So they keep them busy. They try to keep them focused. And God bless them, it's not a bad thing. They're trying to do what they can, but it's not enough, right? They need – some of these kids need counseling. Some of these kids need structure. They need their fathers. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately – they don't have it there. And people need to understand that, okay, if you're going to play a violent sport with a propensity to injure people's brains, then maybe you should put some money, invest a little bit of time and research into the mental health aspect of it, provide these guys with proper counseling, and really find a way to let them play safe. You said it. The guy's brain was that of like an 80-year-old man. Okay, imagine an 80-year-old man. They've attacked their own family because of their dementia and not even being able to make sound decisions. So, of course, it's not an excuse for what he's done, but
that's brain damage. Yeah. I mean, for you to tell me that he had the most severe case, then he had severe brain damage. That is, in fact, what CTE is. And, I mean, again, dude, you're given... I can't imagine growing up. I mean, JB has grown up without a father. My father has been absent most of my life. So I can't imagine having all these other issues that Hernandez had, and also being super rich, super famous, on top of the world. Let's be honest, if you're a super athlete, you can pretty much get away or do with whatever you want, more or less. I mean, and he probably, like, leaving the blunt and all that, yeah, he's, like, half a dumbass now because of the CTE and all that. But he's also probably like, you know what? Yeah, I might be all right. I'm fucking Aaron Hernandez.
You know what? I mean...
And then C-Money touched on the fact that when they go pro, they're off the chain at that point. They're off the leash. They're being handled. They're being taken care of, guided by their coaches, by the communities where they come from. They were big stars in Connecticut. All eyes are on them. That structure's there. You got the whole community raising these people. They get to the NFL. Now here's a big giant bag of money. Go off and do you. Now they got nobody babysitting them. They got nobody telling them where they can come and go when they got to wake up. And that's idle hands, bro. And and to kind of finish off a little bit on this before I get your guys' last opinions, I want to know what you think about this, because I'm gonna drop a little nug on you here. Antonio Brown. He's got a lot of similarities here. Now, Antonio Brown has not committed any murders, nor do I believe that he's done any violence to anybody. But Antonio Brown is a young man whose father was not around often because of, him playing professionally. He came from a tough area. He's played football since a young age. So there's probably a high chance that he does have CTE, or at least some kind of brain damage. Look at the actions that this guy has shown over the past few years. It was like nobody heard of him. All of a sudden, he's a megastar, and then just destructive action after destructive action. It's like he can't even control himself. The guy just put a video up of screaming and cursing at cops, so much so that one of the charities he donated to, the Police Athletic Association out there in L.A., gave his money back and banned him from the property. He's losing all his friends. He's losing all his family. You know what I mean? His agent just sent him a letter and said, I can no longer represent you until you get mental health counseling.
Wow. So look at that. So the similarities are almost uncanny now, minus the murder part, right?
Yeah.
Just this wishy-washy action. 1 second being donating. All I've heard was from the players, AB is one of the hardest working, friendliest, most awesome people in the world. And the next second, he is yelling at cops and getting, his money sent back. You understand this back and forth? Yeah. Wow. I'm glad you said that because I didn't even think about that.
I read a story on ESPN about AB where they were talking about all his coaches, all the way from middle school through college. They always said he had issues off the field, so all we try to do is keep him on the field.
In the building, yeah.
And it's the same thing, bro. And now that he's got idle hands, now he doesn't have something to focus on, he's on a self-destructive pattern, bro. And I'm glad his agent, and I can't remember the guy's name, but I want to put one in the air for his agent for hopefully trying to do something to force him to get help, because if he doesn't get help, I would not be the least bit surprised. I'm not trying to be morbid here, but I would not be the least bit surprised if he ended up in jail or dead before his 40th birthday.
In the few years that I've gotten into the NFL and just knowing the player names and all in the last 5 years, I've never heard a bad thing about this dude. And now all of a sudden he's the most notorious. I mean, it's like, what?
The dude is world class wide receiver, and it's seemingly throwing it all away, a la Aaron Hernandez, the best tight end in the game at the time, and seemingly throwing it away. Thanks, Frank. I can't get out of my head. The parallels are there, and it's kind of scary. I think what I take out of all of this, okay, you can go to the court and plead insanity, and there will be doctors that say you're insane, okay, and you can get away with murder. I don't think Aaron Hernandez was insane, okay, but I think ultimately the facts show and all the brain scans show is that there's something physiological going on with people who kill, who are just evil. There's something physical there, and that we shouldn't just forget about it as saying, you're a murderer, go to jail for 100 years. Yeah, fine, but let's say, let's check out his brain afterwards or something. You understand what I'm saying? There's something going on here, and we shouldn't ignore it.
You can't just chalk everything up to people just being bad people. I love, it pisses me off when cops say, "Oh, he's just a bad guy." No, there are some people who are just like, "Damn, that dude's cold as shit." I get it, but a person that can just sit there and rape, murder, kill people is not normal. It's not typical. There's something wrong with them, and trying to understand these things rather than just dismissing it as being crazy is the only way you can stop this stuff before it happens. You know what I mean? That maybe we need to focus a little bit on mental health at the early ages. You're gonna let your kid play football, take these shots. I mean, it's hard for me to watch these documentaries about the little kids because you see these little kids get cracked, bro. There's no reason why a person before their 21st birthday or any age at all should be getting a concussion playing a game. You know what I mean?
Dude, when I was in high school, the biggest kid was 6'1", 250 pounds.
Yeah.
In high school. Now, I can't imagine.
That's how guys are like Derrick Henry in the NFL now. That's how they were in middle school, for Pete's sake. But my point behind it all is, if you're going to let your kids play such a dangerous game, at least invest a little bit in some mental health and make sure they're playing safe. I mean, Jesus. The information's out there. The facts are out there.
There's the revisiting of the idea of not using pads, right? The rugby players apparently may have less CTE because they learn how to roll with balls and this and that. So we could revisit that. But you know what? And this is my last point. It could be a chicken and the egg thing, man, because again, 9 out of 10 times it's usually through childhood somewhere along the lines, unless obviously they sustain brain damage. But that could also be from child abuse too. Neither here nor there. The point I'm making is, dude, there are just some people that just should not have kids because they have permanently damaged hard drives, and whether they do it through intentionally or unintentional means, I feel like just some people are not meant to reproduce because, there's just something wrong and we don't know what it is yet. So can you not just spread that seed because we haven't even figured it out? It's, I mean, how are you ever going to enforce that? But
and at worst, and at least they're not going to give a child the proper, raising that the child might end up becoming the murderer because of that kind of environment. So I'll give you that. It's the children. We got to pay more attention to the children, mental health, our children, safety. I mean, damn, I feel bad. The Latinos lately, the last couple of weeks, have been taking a hit between the baseball scandal and Aaron Hernandez.
Damn.
I feel like I gotta damn, man. Puerto Rico's having a tough time.
Yeah, Puerto Rico's taking it from all angles right now. Poor Puerto Rico.
Man.
Yeah, man. Latinos, stand up, man. Let's do it right, 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Podheads, baby.